Well, hello everybody, this is Crystal and welcome back to my channel. So last time we talked about government subsidies and we said I had the effect of changing the allocation of resources. And it has a very similar functions like price mechanism, which also sends signals and incentives and changes the quantity supplied and demanded. And in the end, the resources will be reallocated. And taxes, in a way, also have a very similar effect. So typically when an economy is under an inefficient resource allocation condition, indirect taxes will help to remove the part of inefficiency and improve the allocation of resources as a whole. So for this unit, we'll first start with why. So why does the government impose indirect taxes in the first place? There are in total 4 different reasons. So first, the government has to make money as well. So indirect taxes are a source of government revenue. And recall when we talked about the price elasticity of demand, the lower the value of this elasticity, the greater the revenue, since quantity won't change much with increasing price. So secondly, it is also a method to reduce the consumption of goods that don't do much good for the individuals. That's why you see the government always put taxes on cigarettes. But the effect totally depends on the price elasticity of demand. So if the elasticity is very low, meaning the quantity demanded will not change as much with the change in price after putting taxes. So people will consume the goods anyways, and that will likely result in only a relatively small decrease in quantity demanded. And thirdly, indirect taxes can be used to redistribute income. And sometimes you'll see many luxury goods that have very high excise taxes. This is because those goods like luxury cars, jewelry, and Chanel bags are usually for high income earners. So payment of the tax on those goods will reduce their after-tax income. And as a result of that, the income gap will be narrowed down. And finally, it is also a method to improve the allocative efficiency, but this only occurs in a case when there is a market imperfection in the form of a negative externality. So now we'll talk about the market outcomes after imposing an indirect tax. So very similar to subsidies, taxes will shift the entire supply curve as well, except for shifting it upward. So before we even get to that point, first, we have our market diagram here. And you'll notice that at the pre-level equilibrium state, supply curve S intersects with our demand curve D. So at this equilibrium state where supply and demand meets together, our price level is right here at P star, and quantity demanded is at Q star. Now, after taxes are imposed, for every single quantity demanded, the price is going to go up, and the amount is exactly equal to the amount of taxes. So this amount is represented by the vertical line. And since it is a parallel upward shift, these vertical lines are all equivalent. And now we see equilibrium price increases from P star to PC. And PC is the price that will be paid by the consumers. And equilibrium quantity here falls from Q star to QC. And at QC level, at this quantity, prices received by producers are at the PP level. So this distance between the price that consumers paid and the producers received is the amount of tax per unit, just like other vertical straight lines. So what are the consequences of indirect taxes to consumers, producers, the government, and the workers? So consumers and producers are definitely not happy because we see price increases after taxes are imposed and quantity demanded decreases, right? So this change will make them worse off. Why? Because now they're receiving less but paying more. Before producers, they're not happy either since price that they receive goes down and quantity demanded also goes down. And as a result, the revenue will also decrease from this big rectangular area to this small region. When the quantity produced and sold decreases, it leads to less people being employed and losing their jobs. Perhaps the only happy stakeholder here is the government, since now it receives additional tax revenue collected from the producers and consumers. And this big box is the area of gain due to the increase in taxes. It is simply the per unit tax times the total quantity here. So this upper area is the part that consumers will bear, and the lower part is the area that the producers will bear. So just like how we analyze the social welfare and condition of a government subsidy, we can look at how consumer surplus, producer surplus, and welfare will change as a result of the indirect taxes. So at the equilibrium state, I hope this look familiar to you now. So if you want to know why these two areas are the consumer surplus and producer surplus, please find my previous videos on this particular topic, and you'll find the answers in there. So the after-tax social surplus is equal to this giant trapezoid after we adding all the areas together. So it is quite obvious that here the consumers and producers will lose, even though they still have the remaining surplus. But compared to the previous level, they're both worse off. And government is the only winner here, right? Because it will gain the entire big box here, and it is a positive gain. So how about this remaining triangle? It is simply the debt we lost that is not efficiently used after a quantity produced and sold is reduced after the indirect taxation. Or you can also call this area a welfare loss, meaning the tax has caused underproduction compared to what is socially desirable. And that concludes our unit on indirect taxation. I hope this is clear. And if you like the video, please subscribe my channel, like the video, and leave a comment down below. And I hope to see you next time. See you. Ciao.